Welcome back, everybody, to an episode of Mike's Movie Podcast featuring Evan with special guest Adam. And wait, what's that? Do you hear that? Do-do-do-do-do-do. Charge! That's right. Today we are going to be discussing the 1994 movie with a 119-minute runtime called Little Big League. And that is my introduction, and let's let the discussion begin.
Okay, well, I'm going to just jump right into it. I want to do the context. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and again take credit for initiating this particular podcast. This was my idea. I see Adam rolling his eyes, but it doesn't matter. The initial idea was to do the double header, as that's how they say it in baseball, right?
It is.
And do this movie plus Rookie of the Year, which were two little kid baseball movies that came out right around the same time. Somehow that got reduced to just Little Big League, right?
The right choice.
Which I'm not sure I understand why, but it doesn't matter. So my question to you guys, I'm going to put you on the spot. Are we going to do Rookie of the Year later? Or can we pull in some discussion of that here as well? Because that's going to affect my performance today.
I think what we need to do here is we need to look at Robert's Rules of Order to see if it's allowed to be bringing in other discussion points. I believe we have a quorum here to have that particular discussion, but I know it's totally it's all jazz. You know, we can bring in bring in Rookie of the Year and talk about it. It's not because this is the official Little Big League podcast. We can talk about Rookie of the Year. We can talk about Bad News Bears if we want, and we can still at the end of the day have an official Rookie of the Year podcast.
I will say that the reason I didn't want to do both is I don't like baseball movies, and I was not looking forward to watching two in a week. But I will tell you, having now watched Little Big League, I had a lot to say. And the new reason I'm glad I didn't want to do both is I have too much to say. We wouldn't have got to get through all of it if we did both. And subsequent to that, I now am more open to doing more baseball movies, having had so much to say about Little Big League. And I will also tell you that I had only a hazy memory of this from my childhood, because for sure, I never chose this to watch ever in my life. I was always at a friend's house, and it's what they wanted to watch. No one, not me, not my entire family, would have ever picked this movie. It would have had to be someone else's house, and I was like, fine. And I had only the few specific memories I had, which are not spoilers and are not going to get anything, are that, like, at first I was like, have I even seen this? I don't really remember it. And then there are two different parts when different ball players are doing gross stuff, playing with their gum. And that triggered like a primal childhood memory of how gross I've always thought chewing gum is, and how that was like part of like my early childhood disgust with chewing.
I just don't
gross
even say these.
And putting it on their hands and squishing it around. And then the ending. When it got to the ending, I was like, oh my God, I do remember the fucking ending.
First of all, you just dissed Mike, who has been a lifelong fan and lover of Big League chewing gum. So right off the bat, we got a problem there. And if we could get a sponsor for this podcast, I think Big League Chew would be a great choice.
Big League Chew is great. I am a big fan of that, both in the classic bubblegum flavor and the grape flavor as well. I want to say what I thought for the longest time until I rewatched Little Big League in recent years is there's the scene when you have the when you have the relief pitcher. And he has the gum, and he's like wrapping up all of the chewing tobacco. For the longest time, I thought that was hair. I didn't like
fucking gross.
Yeah, when I was like 8, 9 years old watching the movie for the first time, I thought I thought it was hair, and I didn't realize it was chewing tobacco. And that was
there's
great.
That one, but then there's an earlier one where I don't remember who it is. One of them is just spinning it on their fingers. They have a big glob of gum that they're just like spinning back and forth on their fingers and then eating. And that was the two things that just like, that was, you know, like when people have like horror movie trauma memories, I had bubblegum trauma memories from my fourth childhood viewing of Little Big League.
Evan, are you doing all right over there?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. For some reason, like it's just this one might be too much for me, guys.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. It's just, I think it's like, well, so I did, to full disclosure, like to your criticism earlier, Adam, like sometimes I don't watch the movies, particularly if I know them really well. And this is one I know really well. So like I did actually have that little devil on my shoulder whispering, hey, maybe you don't need to watch it. And then I started watching it this afternoon. And I quickly realized how stupid that would have been not to watch it. Like I have not been that engaged watching a movie, and it's funny because I've seen it like 100 times. But just thinking about you guys watching it and then doing this show with Mike and talking about bubblegum and Big League Chew for some reason is just really funny to me, and I just love it. Yeah.
Mike, how many times do you think you? This was definitely my second viewing ever, and the first one, my age was a single digit.
Yeah.
I mean, we rented it all the time, and I don't know. It just, to me, it seems like the perfect movie in a lot of ways, just because it's got this like classic kind of formula, very simple. Baseball is a great sort of canvas to throw the whole like stupid little boy has an unexpected thing happen, and there are a bunch of like big fat white men telling him what to do and like spanking his butt, and there's like mildly inappropriate things going on, and the whole like baseball, there's lots of scenes of the men half clothed in the locker room, which I think is totally awesome. And that didn't hit me when I was a kid. It just seemed normal because like, yeah, like big guys should have their giant cod pieces out around you all the time. But I noticed it more this time, and I appreciated it. I mean, endless observations. I will say too, like that specific thing about the relief pitcher Blackout wrapping his tobacco in chewing gum. I didn't know what chewing tobacco looked like back then, so I thought it was beef jerky. And yes, there were also lots of scenes that seemed like perfect opportunities for the word fuck, where they just like instead used a different word. I don't know. You could just see the movie being like PG-13 or R-rated, with the men being even more appropriate than they were. But you don't even need to have it because it's like it's there in your mind. Anyway.
Everything Evan is talking about reminds me of one of my notes, which is all the scenes Evan was talking about with the touching and the homoeroticism right of me of, and I had to look up the artist name so I could credit it appropriately in the serious work of fine art criticism we do. There's a famous piece of collage art that a woman named Barbara Kruger did, where it has like a bunch of guys kind of like grabbing each other, and then it just says, you construct intricate rituals which allow you to touch the skin of other men. And I thought about that piece of art a lot during the Little Big League.
Very nice. Yeah. Well, and the fact that there's like a little girlish looking boy around the whole time just sort of makes that even more pronounced for me. And yeah, lots of I mean, like, but seriously, this isn't like, I'm not trying to at all pick on this. This is a good movie.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite movies growing up.
I'll tell you quick story about my viewing experience here is that so I actually went to a Mariners game yesterday.
Oh, fun.
Night game. And I actually had been like, oh wait, in order for me to actually watch Little Big League, I'm going to have to watch it after the Mariners game. And I get back from the game and I'm like, I'm an old man now, so I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay up, after the Mariners game and watch this from start to finish. But when the movie came on, it was like 5 cups of coffee, where I just like turn it on and all of a sudden I'm like, all right, good to go, and just like really focused and engaged in it. And I just found myself enjoying the movie as much as I ever had. Picked up on a few other things too, that I didn't quite pick up on in previous viewings. But yeah, it's just an overall solid experience for the movie. And I'm just trying to think of which of those things to actually lead with in terms of stuff that I picked up on that I didn't necessarily pick up on in previous viewings. But I guess I'll save that for Evan or Adam, who have some notes about this picture.
My first note, which is a big thing to talk about, which I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, right off the bat. So this movie starts like there's like the logo, and then it has the title, and there is no like preamble for the credits. It like immediately is on the Little League game, and I immediately wrote phoned in limp dick honky tonk, a real whack way to kick off this movie. And I was mad about the music the whole movie. I was like, this music sucks. This music's making me angry. It's working against the energy of the movie. And then in the end credits, I saw it's fucking Stanley Clark. And I was like, what? I want to know, number one, what do you guys think about the music in this movie? And number two, what the fuck was Stanley Clark thinking? He's a very talented musician and composer. How is this bullshit what he fucking did for this movie?
Yeah, so I mean, leave it to the real movie buffs to pick out the factoids like that. But that is shocking to me, given that I've seen this so many times, and I was like just listening to a record with Stanley Clark, like for other aesthetic purposes yesterday. I did not know that. My guess is that, it was a favor or he needed some money, but
But I mean, it was a big movie. It was it's like he did many soundtracks, not many that were bigger than this. I just feel like I would never have guessed. You could play me this music, have me guess 1,000 people that did it. He would never be on that list. It's like the least funky thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's not funky at all. Like, it sounds nothing like Stanley Clark. But to your second question, I mean, I don't know what you mean by hate the music. I think the music works perfectly for the movie. So I'm gonna sharply disagree with you, which I know you like. And it also makes you cringe, and some of it is so stupid. In fact, I remember having a discussion, maybe this was in high school, Mike. We had discussions about how some of the songs in this movie, like from the soundtrack, not the score, don't go with the scenes. Like, what's the one? That's the stuff you got to watch if you don't want to lose your girl or something like that. Nothing to do with baseball whatsoever, but like there's a whole extended montage, which, by the way, I'd say a good like 15 to 20% of this movie is just baseball montages, which
there's like 3. It's not that
many. But they're long, man. I mean, they're extended.
Yeah, so
I want to say, I think you may be talking about the longest baseball montage when he tells them to learn how to have fun is set Run Around Sue, which I think is like Deanna Bell.
That's another one.
That is at least about running around the bases, which is funny to have the metaphor being about like your girl cheating on you, being visually made to be about men running around on the bases.
They're both. There's another one where it's like, that's the stuff you got to watch. That's also about not having your girl cheat on you or leave you. So
the movie, and for me, I think Evan, probably the same for you, is it's kind of difficult to fully discuss the movie without talking about like our initial experiences watching it, and just going back 25 years, because with the movie part. So when the movie first came out, 94, that era. So in addition to being a big baseball fan, then, as I also loved oldies. Like 95.7 Milwaukee was the oldie station. I would just like listen to it all the time, and I would call in there like at night, like Saturday nights, to get requests, and they would never play my request. I would call in, I'd talk to somebody and be like, "Hey,
what would you request? What were your ones you need to hear back?"
I honestly think something like Wipeout probably would have been requested by me.
That is a song for children, for sure. Only children have ever really enjoyed Wipeout. And then there's that horrible cover of it in this movie in the amusement park. It's not even the real Wipeout in the amusement park scene.
Yeah, but I guess the overall point that I'm getting at is that like songs. So given my affinity for oldies at the time, songs like "Run Around Sue," where we're just, I just like listen to them all the time, and just like kind of like part of my day-to-day life. So when I see this movie, and that's such to a montage, it's just like that, songs like that were such a common part that it just didn't even like, it's like, oh yeah, of course this movie's gonna have the montage. So even watching it this time, like in my mind, it's been encoded that like a baseball montage set to Run Around Sue makes perfect sense. So when I saw it, like that didn't even register that, like, why did they, of all the songs that they could have chosen, why did they choose that one there? but yeah, so that is an interesting choice. But those my first experience with the movie just hardwired into my brain that like these are the right songs for it.
Well, Mike, I have to just say, I think 25 years of friendship, and I'm still learning new things about you, because I did not know that piece of information you just shared. I did not know
About oldies.
about your affinity for oldies as a 9-year-old, and that you called the station on Friday nights to request songs.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I also love oldies. I never felt the need to call in and hear certain ones. There were ones I enjoyed more than others on the, Clear Channel oldies station out here, which around here is Cool 105, which I now get to listen to again. And now they don't play any of the same shit because they've moved it forward 20 years to make you feel angry and frustrated about your age and the passage of time. But that used to be my go-to station also, just like Mike, all the way through when I moved, all the way through high school. That would be like, at a certain point, I got burnt out on our alternative rock station, 99.9 The Buzz, because I was too cool for that anymore. And then I reverted back to liking the oldies again. The young age oldies, eventually trying to being a teenager, alternative rock station, college radio station, and then back to oldies as the default go-to. But I never, ever called in. The only time we ever called, anyone in my family called into the radio station was when the first Mission Impossible movie came out, and the pop station would just play the new version of the Mission Impossible theme. And we thought that was really funny, that in between like Britney Spears and the Backstreet Boys, they would just fucking play the Mission Impossible theme because that was such a big deal. And so as a proof, we goaded my brother into calling the station request line and to pretend he didn't know the name of the song because there's no lyrics, and to just like sing it, be like, hey, can you play that song where it's like, dun, 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 dun. And they were like, yeah, sure, and just hung up. And it was very anticlimactic. But other than that, I've never had the gall to call into a radio request line.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, this wasn't like a request hour. I was just cold calling them.
He's just first to see if he could get a job, and second, if he couldn't get a job, could they please play, the Turtles?
Yeah. Those are ones. Yeah.
So I think this could easily be a 3-hour podcast, just because of my enthusiasm for the movie. I'm gonna request that it not be. I think that I think the rule should be that the podcast can't be longer than the movie itself.
I agree. All my favorite podcasts are way longer than the movie.
Well, if your favorite podcasts were jumping off a bridge, would you want to do that too?
Yeah, that is my favorite podcast.
Okay, well,
so
be that as it may. Mike?
One thing about the movie that I also didn't pick up on is, so you have the grandpa owner, and drops off Billy, and he's talking to the mom, and they're like, oh, he's single, and it's like, yeah, I'm sure there are something fun to do with him.
You should fuck that short redhead leprechaun I got on my baseball team, huh? My son, you used to fuck my dead son, and now you should have sex with the baseball player, the short guy who happens to also play first base, which makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, but two ongoing tropes of the era that the movie right off the bat is participating in are Spielberg style no dad, and it's not really addressed, it's just kind of glossed over. Dad's not there, dad died or whatever. And then number two, conspiracy to get mom laid is the other thing that it's doing.
That exact thing, by the way, is the precise reason why I wanted to do the Rookie of the Year double feature, because the two baseball movies have that exact same thing going on.
It was across many different narratives were made to, there was like, the Joseph Campbell hero's journey, the Joseph Campbell mom conspiracy journey.
It's almost like, and there's no way this is true because the movies came out too close together, but it's almost as if somebody saw Rookie of the Year in 1993 and thought, hey, that did pretty well. Why don't we get a different, like, middle-aged kind of, in a lull in his career, white actor to play a baseball player that's supposed to be pursuing the mom of some, exemplary kid, who has some baseball miracle happen. It's the
Who
same
is-
thing.
I don't remember. Who is it in Rookie of the Year?
Gary Busey.
Because this guy, the fucking redhead guy in this guy isn't in a lull in his career. This was like the
This is his
biggest.
highlight, right? That's like, okay, well, whatever. Lull in the career was a bad. That's not
Well,
right.
no,
I
yeah,
guess
because Gary Busey was the Rocket, and he was like washed up at that point.
he was washed up, but like, you know, moderately recognizable white man in the baseball role.
Yeah.
Who has to both win the game and the girl, who is the kid's mom. And I wanted to have a whole discussion about which movie had the hotter mom and all that stuff, which
I am Rookie of the Year is not fresh in my mind. I would be shocked if it isn't Rookie of the Year because this
it is Rookie of the Year. It is definitely Rookie of the Year. But Little Big League has the hotter boy. I would say that.
You would rather have sex with the redhead.
I did not say that. I did not say that.
Well, so what I don't recall about Rookie of the Year, because in Little Big League, Billy had some reservations about his mother dating Lou, which allowed him, which led him to eventually bench Lou.
Right.
What I don't recall is if in Rookie of the Year, if there was like that similar resistance to Gary Busey and his mother, or if that was like kind of a subplot that was like not related to.
I don't think they developed the romance as much in Rookie of the Year. I don't think Gary Busey actually got in there.
The classic way it goes in all these movies, which started in the 80s and went way past this, is they're like, the kids are like, we need a dad. We got to get a new dad. And then the new dad is like, well, I'm going to have sex with the mom. And the kids are like, what? You're going to have sex with my mom? I just want a new dad to be around new dad stuff. And I will say my favorite part of this is the few scenes where they do the multi-tiered power dynamic of need a new dad for mom, but the kid is new dad's boss. Specifically the scene when he has a curfew and he's like, well, then the fucking new dad's got a curfew too. And they're like, what? And she's like, he's his boss. Oh, and then the scene about her birthday where he's like, I'll make spaghetti. And she's like, I have a date. There's just a lot of like Oedipus complex, like inverted power hierarchy stuff going on. I would have loved for that to be most of the movie, is the weird sexual gender tension between kid is new dad boss and the tension with the mom has to deal with, which is really just those two scenes. They even touch on it. Is the most excited about the whole movie.
Well, I want to ask though, I don't recall Billy like being like, I want a new dad. I feel like he was kind of indifferent to having a new dad.
Well, the scene where you got to think of the scene when the mom gets dressed up and they're like, whoa, mom. And then she goes out on the date and they're all like, oh, hey, your mom's going out. And they're like, woo. They're like excited about it.
Come on, guys, shut up.
Yeah, but it's because I think like I'm also going to tie in like Mighty Ducks, because like the original Mighty Ducks, you know, Gordon Bombay goes on the date with like Charlie's dad, but like Charlie was like actively being like, oh yeah, you know, you should go on a date with my mom. I don't think that Billy was ever like took any sort of proactive steps to like try to pair up Lou.
That's true.
But he changed his mind about it a couple times, right? Like initially he was happy for his mom to be getting out there, and then it started getting kind of, you know.
But Mike is right that it was never his idea. It was Jason Robach, the grandpa's
idea.
It was his respect for his grandfather's authority that he initially went along with it. Because Grandpa knows who should be having sex with everybody.
Well, Grandpa was like the baseball philosopher king who taught Billy all the baseball wisdom and fucked him, just like the ancient Greeks. And that was
my
like
first note is that old guys, there's Jeffrey Epstein stuff going on with the old guy taking the kids out, fatten up his little cherubs.
Absolutely. He's talking about pissing on Gilligan's Island guy and, you know, like doing inappropriate stuff with the kids. That's totally what that was.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there are though, and we do touch on some with some of the power dynamics too that are interesting, because in this movie, obviously, in addition to being the manager of the team, he's also the owner of the team.
Oh yes.
So there are.
Yeah, it's so multi-tiered. It's fractal in its density.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of
it is fractal in its density. Let's let that be on the record.
Yeah.
Mike,
you want to talk about the soundtrack again real quick, and just mention that Evan has long been a fan of Center Field by John Fogerty, and
Well, and it's funny, like there's a little guitar, there's a real juicy, hot, lick early in the movie where the part where Billy's running down the hallway, this is pre-Grandpa Death, and he's going to the game to see Roger Clemens. And it's just like the whole, and I guess that's Stanley Clark. I didn't know.
No, okay. Follow up. I didn't even get into the depth of it. So when I saw it was Stanley Clark, then I zoomed in on the credits, and separate from Stanley Clark being the composer of the score, there is a featured guitarist who is credited. Would you have a guess based on your guitar knowledge who it is? It's a very famous guy.
I'm going to be so upset when I don't know. I don't know the answer in all my years. Jeff Beck.
So that's Jeff Beck. I wrote that same riff in my notes because they start it and then it gets interrupted and then it resumes after he starts running again. And
neither,
I was like, oh, okay.
Neither of those men belong.
I know.
That's I guess that's why I don't know. After 25 years, I never knew this, just because I would never associate Jeff Beck with Little Big League. But now that I think about it, that it really is a good lick, and that makes sense that it's Jeff Beck. But I used to play that for my own enjoyment.
Well, to keep on the theme from the for the music of the movie, I feel like at the very end, when Ken Griffey Jr. is chasing down the home run, I feel like the music in that sequence fits very well.
I don't remember. I will say the only other note I have about the music is that I hated all the blues camp honky tonk bullshit, and then I was very confused about Stanley Clark. But at the big ending, the big finale ending, it's like an orchestral thing out of nowhere from a totally different movie that I have to imagine was not even part of the same recording sessions as all the honky tonk Stanley Clark shit. Is that what you're talking about? Where it has like that big, grandiose.
I think talking about when there's this intense thumping running music while Griffey's chasing down. So there's the tension where Lou's about to maybe hit a homer or,
Oh, and there's some synthesizer and stuff.
Yeah, it's more like a Terminator Harold Faltermeyer type of sequence that is also. Yeah.
That is notable because it's the first time music is actually building tension. So far, up into the whole movie, it just some limp honky tonk, doing nothing, and then all of a sudden it has a very dramatic build, and then it slams into the bombastic orchestral thing in the big finale. And I was like, wow, this movie went from a very flat line to a very heightened reality, and that's starting with what Mike's talking about through the big ending.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, and I also did you guys notice that they're always eating chicken in this movie? Why are the big men always eating chicken legs?
I noticed that.
Maybe I was just hungry. Maybe I wanted that.
There's multiple scenes of eating burgers too.
Tidy whities and eating fried chicken in the locker room, which again, those are the best scenes, especially the math scene at the end. I remember as a kid, watching that scene and being frustrated because I didn't know the answer either. And then Jonathan
I'm still not sure. I assume Jonathan Silverman is right, but even when he said it, I was like, is he right?
I'm not sure he is. I got a different answer, but I could be wrong. I'm not that smart.
Did you guys wait through the whole end credits that there's a stinger from that scene after the whole end credits?
I've seen it. I didn't wait this time, but yeah, remind me what that is. So they're.
But one of the dumb guys is like, I still like 8. Then it just ends.
I think
I'm gonna have to rewatch the credits because I have not seen that. I can tell you that again, just going back to when I was watching the movie growing up, is that I did know the answer to the question. If you have,
do you now?
Pardon me?
You did then. Do you now?
I know. I don't know. I mean, that information has long atrophied, but I remember watching the movie and feeling good about myself because I knew how to answer that question, and I really enjoy that scene, and I think that's just comedy gold.
They really milk it.
Yeah,
they commit to it and they explore it to the fullest extent.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff.
I want to know who your least favorite character in the movie is and your least favorite scene.
Mike, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
Well, this is like choosing my least favorite Eric Johnson song off of Avi and Musicum, or
It's not- well, that, Song for Lynette is probably a little worse on that.
yeah.
Here, actually, I have to pee. You guys should talk about Eric Johnson for a minute.
Yeah, we never did finish that Eric Johnson draft.
This might be a good time to do a little promo for the revival of the Eric Johnson song draft. Mike and I had the brilliant idea to do these song drafts, and we started with some big bands, big rock acts, and what more recognizable rock musician than instrumentalist Eric Johnson?
Yeah, I think, well, we also talked about like needing to do some like Van Halen. That's another one.
Sure. But Eric Johnson was bigger than Van Halen. He paved the way for Van Halen.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
I might have to actually edit this podcast because I think it's I'm always on the fence. Like, part of me doesn't care. I already said some things that were a little too raunchy, but say la vie. I ain't got a job. What's the big deal?
I'm really racking my brain here for your answer about though, like which character did I like the least?
Well, you still have time. Oh wow, Adam, who also
I have my answer. I had my answer before I peed.
You raced me. That was an even faster pee than the one I took earlier. But it must be your patented dick through the zipper methodology.
Yeah.
Adam likes to scrape his junk through his nasty, rusty zipper.
Actually, true story, and I'll show you. These shorts have buttons, and I was always like, who the fuck has like buttons on the shorts? And I was like, oh, people scared of the zipper. These are shorts for people scared of the zipper.
Yeah. Well, I'm still an unbuckler myself, let it be known. But
well, I just want to just bring up a quick on the subject of urination. In the movie Whitewater Summer, an important plot point is when they all have a group pee. So
is that the one where Kevin Bacon molests the kids?
Well, he does not molest the kids, but he does. He is sadistic, and
it's implied.
Another movie with a significant scene of group peeing is Jeepers Creepers, made by noted convicted child molester. So, I think we all know what's going on about
Jeepers Creepers is a beloved movie of a certain movie-going crowd that I will be happy to talk to you guys about after the podcast. There's like
did Mike give his answer? What was Mike's answer about his least favorite?
Well, I've been given the answer. I still have to think about it.
You still mulling it over?
I'll do mine if you want.
To me, it's obvious, but yeah, Adam, do yours.
Mine is the main kid. And least favorite scene is the scene when the mom pulls over to be like, I will.
Oh, Christ. That is that's so.
That she pulls over. Like, I get that you're gonna have that scene because they've had the tension in their relationship, but that she pulls over. I think about that when I see people pulled over in dumb places on the road. I'm like, are you fucking doing some dumb
They're
shit?
having
like,
a serious
heart. Not the place. No, you gotta get to a parking spot.
So you got the scene right on the head, and that's the whole reason why I wanted to ask that question, is because that scene upset me so much during what was otherwise a very enjoyable movie. It's just like, God damn, something about with like the fall foliage and the SUV pulling over, and just that mom, and the mom is my least favorite. I don't like that mom. Not good at all. So yeah. Mike.
I thought about, in a way, the mom is my least favorite character, but she's in it. So she's so minor that it doesn't matter. The kid really pisses me. The kid is a poonis who pisses me off.
He's a penis boy, but that's what a true penis boy is. They're supposed to be.
Okay. A separate side question. What is because to me, right off the bat, it is established that he has this OCD autistic fixation on stats and shit.
I already explained that. He was in a philosopher relationship.
I understand how he had it, but to me, I was like, oh, so we're supposed to think this guy sucks and is annoying. But then that's supposed to be the boon that makes him capable of running a team. Separate from this movie, in your own lives, what association do you have with a person that has that kind of encyclopedic sports statistic knowledge? Because what I wrote in my notes is knowing a lot about sports stats, small penis energy.
I'm trying to remember like how I felt about that kid. And I want to get to Mike's answer to the original question too, but like, I think I felt mildly annoyed, but like, he's just the kid. Like, you just need that vehicle to drive the movie, right? There was always a stupid, precocious penis boy in every one of those movies.
But I would rather his dumbass friends get the team. That would be a way funnier movie. I don't want some fucking nerd that gives a fuck to get the team. I want some fucking.
You get no plot then. The whole plot is
Sure you do, because then they're gonna fuck it up and then have to like grow as people. He like starts with this like omniscient knowledge, and everyone just has to realize that he has greater natural awareness about baseball shit.
So
versus
we
the idiot having to realize that like men's livelihoods are at stake from their shenanigans would be a much more significant arc.
That's the other fucking thing. Like, he benches Lou for like 12 games, which ends up costing him the division, right, Mike? And like, you think about in the real big leagues, like some bookie would have blown that kid's brains out for doing that, right? It's not all fun and games. But anyway,
someone should have killed that kid.
Hold on. I wouldn't say that it cost them the division, because remember they were in the wild card race. They were in the wild card race.
I know, but they were in first place at some point in the movie, right? They were in first place, and then he started benching Lou. I
don't believe that they ever specified where they were in the standings. They mentioned that they were in a pennant race, but I don't believe they mentioned if they were first, second, or third place. And ultimately, they were going for the wild card. So it's entirely possible that they were, but I think it is accurate that they needed to win the last 4 games and have the Mariners lose the last 4 games in order to make it to the playoffs. Had they not benched Lou, instead of forcing a 1-game playoff, they probably just would have clinched the wild card outright and then made the playoffs. Right. So, which again, if you do that, you make the playoffs, you get more games, you get more revenue. So, as the order, yeah.
In case you can't already tell, to our just previous discussion, Mike is the kid from Little Big League, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, if you ever wanted to ask, like,
well, you know what I mean? Okay, so Mike is that guy, but Evan, if you meet a person you don't know that well and they start talking stats like that, are you like, wow, cool, I want to hang out with this person? Because I have like physical aversion where I'm like, get me the fuck out of here.
So we're talking about Billy talking about stats.
Yeah. Adam's least favorite character is Billy.
He has a lot of knowledge of trivia and stats, but I think what makes him a bit different though is he's able to apply that into like actual real world situations. So you know what I'm saying? Where it's not like he just knows the numbers. Like he's able to do stuff with it, which is how he got it to begin with. So I think it is a bit different though than just like pure stats knowledge. Because I agree that having like pure stats knowledge and just knowing the batting average of everybody on the Minnesota Twins, like there's not a whole lot to that. But I mean, he is able to apply that to be taking actions in particular situations. So
yeah, his ability to use critical thinking to apply that knowledge is, his magic power that makes him able to do what happens in the movie. But I'm just talking about whenever I realize a human being I'm talking to has that many numbers related to sports committed to memory, it makes me, I get a fight or flight instinct to just get away.
Well, maybe
whether they can apply it or not. That's whether.
I want to ask a question though, Adam. Though, is that so you're somebody that like has a lot of just like movie knowledge and just like here's the key grip to some like Dario Argento film in like 1973.
Absolutely.
So like how is like that type of knowledge different than just like pure stats?
It's not, except that one is about sports, one is about movies, and one is something I share an interest in, one is I have no interest in. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I know Mike is a sports guy. I know Evan is kind of a sports guy. I'm trying to parse where Evan falls on that spectrum.
You're not going to be able to, because you know what? I have so much to say about this, but it's like, I was thinking the same thing, Mike. Like maybe there's a sports podcast happening right now where they're saying the same thing about somebody like Adam.
Absolutely.
But to me, saying you don't like sports or you don't like movies is a little bit like saying like I don't like what? It's like saying you don't like music or I don't like pizza. It's just you're dumb. You haven't cultivated a taste for it. Fine, but it's like saying I don't like coffee. You do. You have a taste for it that's latent, perhaps, and that's how it is with you in sports. when you get to be our age, you'll come of age.
Uh-huh.
You understand?
Yeah.
But really, I really want to know, since I fully admit that if I met someone like that for movies, I get excited because I'm like, oh, that's someone like me. We have a lot to talk about.
There's
If
different.
you haven't met someone like that about sports, are you excited or are you like, whoa, I don't know about this person?
No, I mean it depends on the context. First of all, I think you have such limited exposure to people like that it's like, honestly, I've met so many people who are like what you're talking about with sports, who are super obnoxious, and this kid isn't one of them. Like, kind of like, I guess I'm disagreeing with what Mike said, right? Like, he's not like rattling off in a sort of like autistic fashion numbers just for the sake of being impressive or weird. He just really does love baseball and knows all these situations. I don't think I found that as offensive. I will say I don't remember finding it particularly impressive as a kid, but I didn't find it offensive. And it also strikes me, this whole conversation, like, all the movies targeted at us, like our demographic. And by the way, that's what makes this movie kind of special. Like, we were 9 and 10 when this came out. It was targeted right at us, suburban white boys, not just white, but like
I'm not suburban.
well, whatever.
But you're right. I agree with you. I just don't think being suburban is part of it.
And every one of those fucking movies is about some stupid ass little white kid who is exceptional in some way. And I'm just thinking like how fucking toxic that has been, right? Like, for me in particular, because you grow up with this overarching kind of like, thread in your brain that like, I'm blank check. I'm Little Big League, I'm going to do something special. You never see one about a kid who's like getting the shit kicked out of him or like having just a normal Monday.
Well, you do, but they didn't take us to those. They weren't targeted at us.
Right. Anyway, I've said too much.
No, I fully agree. And another thing I was curious to hear about. So I absolutely think everything you said is true and correct, and is a thing I think about when I rewatch these movies as an adult. Specifically with this one, as one I hadn't revisited until now. Another thing I was thinking about is like, so obviously the genre you're talking about is kind of like wish fulfillment fantasies of like a young man of our demographic at that age. And to me, blank check, of course. Who wouldn't want to be blank check or first kid? Any of that. But okay, maybe first kid is not a good, but like this one, I would never even to make it not sports, like to make a equivalent, like, would you like to be the owner or manager of a significant body related to something you're interested in? I would have been like, Christ, no, that sounds like a nightmare. Even now, I think that sounds like a nightmare. I'm curious if that had the idea of owning a sports team or some other analogous power thing had appealed to you then or now.
Mike.
Well, so I think for me the appeal of what he was doing would be like the manager, like in the abstract sense of like, because if you're the manager, like you're involved in the baseball side of things. I would say but the true appeal, and this is where there's no avoiding talking about Rookie of the Year, like Rookie of the Year, like that is like the actual like wish fulfillment at that age of, I am a player on the team, and not only am I a player on the team, but I am taking them to the World Series. Where
and that makes sense to me. That's why Little Big League is weird, because Little Big League is not that.
I think that was what I think why I enjoyed the movie, just from a pure movie sense, is that like what gets demonstrated again and again, like as he's a manager, is like how being a manager is kind of a shitty and like difficult job, because when he's the first manager, like the players are trying to sabotage him to get him to fail, and then he has to like cut his favorite player, who then like yells at him. Then like he just like goes through the stress of the pennant race and like all of that stuff. So like throughout all of that, and like the way that the movie concludes is he's like, I don't want to do this. I just want to like go fishing and like hang out with my friends. So it's like the ultimate like wish fulfillment there is like him not being involved with the team at all in the context of the movie.
I guess, as I hadn't thought of that, but what Mike is pointing out is basically this was a healthier message in the way Evan's talking about, where the end of the movie is the kid being like, whoa, hey, maybe I should just go be a normal kid, in a way that like
that's true.
Like that are not doing that. And I will tell you, I did not remember from watching it at the age of 9, whether they won at the end or not. And I was like, are they gonna fucking win? Because like it starts off and it seems like it's gonna be a wish fulfillment thing, but then they keep having those things about like it's just about having fun, you know, like you gotta love the game. And I was like, okay, well, if that's true, they shouldn't win. And then they didn't win. And I was like, wow, okay, that's something. That's, you know, that is actually a positive message. Because, you know, there's like the Crispin Glover thing about why he didn't want to do Back to the Future 2, because he felt like it was a bad overarching message about like, you know, money is good and stuff like that. And in this way, the real meta top level message of this movie is like, hey, just chill out and be a kid, in a way that is kind of like, hey, that's good. I'm okay.
I didn't get that. Personally, I didn't get that memo. I wanted to be the manager of the baseball team.
But like, why do you think he wants to quit at the end?
Because he just is a pussy and he gives up.
You think you would do better? See, that's the thing. You were infected too well by the other movies to even perceive the actual healthy message that Little Big League was trying to get.
I'm not denying it. I missed the healthy part. It's the whole fucking movie is about a kid who has a special talent.
Yeah, but okay, but then all the scenes with his friends where he's like, "Oh, I'm just so stressed out," and then the narc kid is. The kid is like, he's like, I got to do paperwork. And the kid's like, you sound like my dad. And I'm like, wow, okay, that's, you know, I was like, yeah.
I wanted to do the paperwork and watch Night Nurses in Jersey in the hotel room by myself. Let's get to that.
Let's get to that. There's a lot to talk about there. So he's supposed to be how old? He's 11. Is that right? Yeah. He's 11 in this.
He turns 12, I think.
Are we supposed to think that when he watched Night Nurses 11 times and that he jacked off all night?
Of course. So he says to his friend, I gotta go. They got a new patient.
But he is not behaving in a manner that I associate with arousal at all.
Well,
yeah, I think when you're at like, I think he's 11 years old in the movie.
Yeah,
when you're kind of in the, because I think that there is a certain like academic curiosity to pornography at that.
But you don't watch it 11 times for academic curiosity.
He's definitely jacking off in the movie.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the implication there, that he was.
But so, okay, follow-up question. If you just randomly asked me and I like, when did you start masturbating? I'd be like, I don't know, like 12, like 11. That's like, he would have been like just getting into masturbating, and based on my life.
But so like maybe 10, 11 in like full force, but like I definitely humped the jets at the swimming pool when I was like 5.
Sure,
you know? So
but that's
like,
different. I'm talking about to completion. Because it didn't really become a traditional, what I now think of as jacking off, until I really, you know, there's like there's early childhood humping.
It depends. Honestly, given what we know now about puberty, Mike could be right. He could be too young, and it could be academic. Or
that's confusing. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense. This is like 11. I'm like, okay, maybe he's getting really get to it. But 11 times that, and the fact that he's asleep the next day, that to me is, you were supposed to presume he had some erotic mania obsession with Night Jersey, and he just couldn't stop jerking off all night till dawn. It was dawn.
You look at that kid. You look at the kid who looks more like a 10-year-old girl, and you just can't see it. Like I also wouldn't be surprised, now that I think about it, if Mike's hypothesis is right. And he's just sort of like, oh man, to me.
Why would he watch it 11 times? I would see like
because Mike said academic. You know, you're just sort of like, ooh, this is special.
11 times you forego sleep to repetitively watch what is portrayed as a shitty, low budget.
My friends and I rewound the sex scene in Terminator on a grainy VHS taped cassette many times.
As a group.
We did not jack off. We just watched the sex scene, which is like 8 seconds long, for 2 hours.
No, the thing is, like, when I was, because also at this time when I was growing up, 10 years old, so my family, we had HBO and Showtime and Cinemax and Stars, and you would have stuff like a lot of like the softcore porn, like a lot of like the erotica on, like, you know, 1 a.m. And like I'd be up like with some friends and just like watching that, because it's like just so different than what you've seen before, and it's like there's nothing like really sexual or arousing about it. It's just that,
do you think it's supposed to be softcore that he's watching? I don't think that's the implication.
No, that's why I initially thought like, oh yeah, he's jacking off. That's a hardcore porn, you know, like they're setting up a serious like anal porno for him to watch in the hotel.
There's no way to extrapolate from that one clip there's anal, except by the commonality of that.
I mean, hold on a second. I think we need to get back to the time though, because like I don't know, like for like pay-per-view pornography in the mid-90s was that like typically hardcore or softcore porn? Because I honestly don't know.
I have never had the pleasure of that era paying for hotel porn. My assumption is if you're gonna pay extra, it better be fucking hardcore. Because like you said, a normal hotel, you have cable TV where it's all softcore after midnight anyway.
Yeah.
That shit was better anyway. It was Cinemax and
The
Showtime.
softcore was better.
It was yeah, absolutely.
Why?
You gotta have intrigue. You gotta have like some you gotta play the silence. It's the gaps.
You're doing a false dichotomy between like internet porn and softcore porn. Most hardcore porn from the golden era were full-on narrative.
It was a shame. It was a shame. I used to work hard to stay up and watch Red Shoe Diaries and Love Street. And yeah, you might just get to see a couple of nipples, but like, man, that was your whole weekend there. Now it's just like you press a button and it's just raunchy, like fluids everywhere.
There's an entire history of real pornography you could enjoy that you're too lazy to get into.
I'm just saying, I mean, we're scratching different itches here. Besides, I don't really give a shit about going to the, 1920s pornography museum that you are the, maitre d' of or whatever they call that, the docent.
Then don't act like softcore is better just because you haven't been exposed to like
it was better. I'm just saying it was, I don't mean it's.
I want to say real quick to our listeners, if you are enjoying our discussion of pornography right now, I recommend checking out our 8mm podcast, where we also discuss.
I will also say that I was impressed. Like I said, I was impressed with this movie's messaging where the winning isn't what's important. And there's various other things where I thought this movie really was an actually positive, good thing for children to watch. But I do not think that its message about pornography, when the mom confronts him, that's a very sex negative, regressive, puritanical ideology that I do not support. She should have celebrated. She should have been like, hey, there's better porn than this fake porn we made up for the movie. Can I help you?
No, you're just baiting me right now, aren't you? Listen, you can encourage your kid to develop healthy knowledge and sexuality without condoning the watching of pornography. All right, can we just have that? Can we just agree to that?
Okay. And can we, in conjunction, can we have that there's nothing wrong with pornography?
This pornography, so let me just get this straight. You are suggesting it would have been better that the mom support his watching of a movie where it appeared that the plot was too bubbly, stupid, airheaded blonde nurses.
Yes, the plot doesn't matter.
The plot doesn't matter. So what's that teaching an 11-year-old about sex if it's provided by these like subservient, done up, wearing very tight like clothing? Like it's completely objectifying.
So do you think that watching something means that's what you believe is the best and right way it should be? Is that
I believe that you want to think twice before you have your 11-year-old ingest that as their introduction to sex. Yes.
Well, let me ask you this. What was your introduction and how did that work out?
Dude, how am I supposed to like go back? My introduction.
My point is everyone's introduction is something fucked up and shitty.
I don't think you're, yeah, but that doesn't, fine, but that doesn't mean your parents should like say like, oh, totally fine. Watch whatever like dirty, toxic shit you want, because it's fine.
They're gonna anyway. And if they're gonna anyway, especially in a post-internet era, you're either gonna discuss it openly or have it be a repressed thing that they don't talk about with you. Those are your choices. And I think it's better to have it be something that you can talk about.
I agree that it's good to empower the kid to make the right choice. I actually don't care that much about this because I don't even have.
That's what you always say when I start to win an argument.
No, you're not winning. You're definitely losing. But like,
that's how I know I've won. When you go like, I don't even.
I will say that. I will agree that it's better to empower the child to make healthy choices. But if there's no precursor that allows them to decide, then it's better that you not have their first exposure be something like that, right?
But so in this situation, she was like, oh, this was his exposure. I now worked through that. That barrier has been crossed. My choice is now to either be like, you shouldn't be watching these dirty movies, or be like, is this really what you want to be watching? And
I
she
think
does.
there's more to it than that. I'm just remembering like when our mom caught us like looking at our dad's Playboys and shit like that. Like we found some of his collector Playboys and then we hid him and then we felt bad about it. So we told her. And she was just like, okay, guys, you know, it's okay. You know, this is normal. But at the same time, like you do have to give me back the Playboys. You can't just have them in your room and like look at them all the time. And I kind of understood that. I think it's not just about like you're trying to censor content from your kids, but you don't want them to be like, I don't know, like, and this isn't true for everybody, but you want to encourage them to be doing other things, right? Like it's not the optimal use of their time to be.
But as we all know from that age, whatever you're gonna be doing,
Yeah, I know.
making yourself ejaculate is gonna happen on a regular basis.
Or just academically studying the porn like Mike does.
Well, I don't have anything to add to this particular.
Come on, Biden.
Yeah.
I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. Somehow I got roped into another.
Okay, to stop talking about that, to go to what Evan was.
I do want to say one thing that's kind of adding my 2 cents here. I do think that the idea of how like what is a healthy way for somebody to be introduced to hardcore pornographic imagery for the first time is I think that's that is an interesting discussion, and I don't know. I guess I'll just leave it at that, because
you said I had something to say, and what you had to say was that's an interesting discussion.
Yes.
Well, I mean, kind of it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I guess maybe not an interesting discussion. I think what I wanted to say is like I feel like that's like we could like have our own podcast series on that particular question.
I was already to move on to it. What I was going to say, going unrelated to that, inspired by what Evan said about having be good to have other things. My childhood experience with baseball was from a very early age. I didn't care about sports, but my parents were like, "Hey, you should give this a try. You can't just write things off." And they forced me. One of the few things they ever forced me to do against my will was play a season of T-ball. And it was the most miserable, horrible experience of my life. And at the end, they apologized. They said, "We just wanted you to try it. You hated it as you thought." But
T-ball sucks. All right. You got to stick it out till a machine pitch. That's where it gets good. That's where you actually start getting hit by the balls and it hurts.
I did get hit by the balls very early on. The pitcher was the husband of my middle school art teacher, and he fucking pegged me right in the balls.
I thought you said you were playing T-ball. Oh, you were throwing it back and forth. Again, I stand by what I said with the coffee and sports analogy. That said, I'm not like a huge sports person, but at that age, in my kid friend neighborhood school group, I mean, you all traded baseball cards and you all played baseball, even if you weren't a huge sports fan. You just did it. Like that was just part of the socialization of adolescence. And I think that was probably true for a lot of folks. Like you were an outlier. And it's not that surprising given, you were in Vermont and, you had your issues. So what?
I was a different kind of autistic. I wasn't the kind of autistic that Billy is.
Billy's not autistic. What is Billy's deal?
Asperger's? Yeah, you're right. It's Asperger's, not autism.
Well, I don't know. I also, the movie made me want to watch more baseball, which I have that urge a lot, and I'll never do it because I don't actually have the attention span, and I haven't paid enough attention throughout my adult life to know enough. Like, I don't even know what half the shit they said. It struck me, Mike, I don't know what you think about this, that like for a kid's movie, it was a fairly technical baseball movie. Like there were a lot of real specific like phrases they used and terminology that I didn't even know now. Like, man, I should have wrote them down.
I do, and that is accurate. Where they got into some pretty sophisticated baseball scenarios, and again, the scene when he goes to the general manager, goes to the pitching coach, is like, "I'm the selection for it," and they're like, "Let me give you a scenario," and then they actually like start talking through that. Like that was actually pretty technical what they were doing there too. So yeah, I would say it's like if you're a baseball fan, I think there's a lot of stuff in there that you just find to be interesting. So,
Mike,
it's,
do you agree with my statement about sports being an everyman's entertainment and every person's
yeah,
entertainment?
I do.
Wait.
Well, the thing is, like with sports, there's so much stuff like football, baseball, hockey, track and field, volleyball.
There's something for everyone, even Adam. Maybe Adam.
Yeah, to high lie and badminton.
Yeah, there you go.
You just
Now-
rebel against it because a lot of people like it. That's what you do with everything. You don't watch anything if it's on Netflix because too many people are watching Netflix.
I can tell you my top 10 Netflix movies of the past year if you want to. There's peaks on there. Here, premise one: life is short. We have a limited amount of time to expose ourselves to whatever we want to. Sports is not my priority. It's very true that if I chose to, I could probably get into some kind of sports. However, I already at the ripe old age of 36
Very young.
know that I will never absorb all the experiences I'm trying to absorb in this lifetime without adding sports on top of my
So Adam, though, I know that you have just by virtue of watching a lot of movies, have watched a fair number of sports movies or movies where sports are an important part.
How few?
What?
You'd be surprised how few.
Yeah, but
Never by my choice.
well, I think though by the like sheer volume, I would say that you would still have seen more sports movies than the average person. Is because
I really don't think so.
well, you've seen like the like Air Bud
The
movies.
Air Buds. I mean, just watching all
Are
of
we
those.
counting Air Bud as a sports movie?
Yeah,
Totally. Absolutely.
but you've also seen like what Mighty Ducks.
I guess if Air Bud and Most Extreme Primate are sports movies, then maybe a little bit. But I've never seen Rudy. I've never seen Angels in the Outfield. I've never seen Little Giants. I've never seen The Big Green or whatever the one with the red.
You know them all. That's the canon. What, Mike?
Have you seen Ed with Matt LeBlanc about the?
Yes,
chimpanzee?
because it has some dumbass animal shit in it. That's
Yeah.
why.
See, I've seen Little Big League. Yeah, but
I had seen Little Big League and Rookie of the Year were both the ones that were such a big deal when we were that age that at someone else's house I saw them.
But also like if not even sports movies though, like movies where sports are an important part of the story. So like you've seen the last.
I don't really get what are you going at? What is the
Hold on, let me finish my point. Is that like you've seen like The Last Boy Scout, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean like football is an important part of that movie.
But what's your point here? I don't get what you're getting at.
Yeah, the point that I'm getting at is that just again through watching movies that are either like pure sports movies or like watching movies where sports are part of the story or they're on in the background, is at any point have you like seen like a clip of a football game in a movie or a clip of a baseball game, clip of a basketball game, and you've been like, what is going on? What is being portrayed in this is interesting to me.
No.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, you guys don't know my very good friend from childhood, Brian Allen, who is the biggest sports fan you'll ever meet, he is at a Mike level of sports obsession across many sports. His big one is football. He's primarily a football guy, but he is interested in many different sports. And I lived with him for several years. And he would have cable TV and he would always be watching the NBA or, whatever. And he would always be like saying exactly what everyone was saying. He'd be like, if you just gave it a chance, you'd enjoy it. And I'd be like, Brian, I'm sure you're right. However, I've already chosen the path I'm wasting my life on, and I have a finite amount of time to spend on that. I'm not seeking new things to get into. I already have too many things I'm into.
Why is it a zero-sum thing?
Because of the duration of the human lifespan.
No. But that doesn't answer my question. I get that. Like, why does that mean you can only watch movies and never sports?
It's not just movies, but between movies, music, and the tiny amount of reading that I do, I already have a backlog of decades.
Well, that's essentially how I feel too. However, like, I guess I'm just a little bit more open-minded about it. Like the exception for me is basketball. Like that will take priority for me over most other forms of entertainment. other sports, like I have a lust for them. Like I'm very intrigued, but I too will not make the investment because I want to invest that time in other forms of entertainment. But I still like to think that like, hey, maybe one season I'll get really into baseball,
I am in general not a super anxious person, but the closest I have to the experience of just kind of constant background anxiety that a lot of people have is anytime I'm not occupied with work or some obligation that basically anytime I'm in free time and I'm doing something that isn't one of my multi lists of things I'm trying to get through, I'm kind of like, what the fuck are we doing here? I'm losing time. I'm getting older. I'm closer to dying. What the fuck? And this podcast is an exception. I'm not watching something now, but this is another priority. It's like, okay, I have like 5 friends. I barely see them. I got to make time to spend with my 5 friends. This is a priority. But if I were to be like, hey, maybe I should get into sports, I'd be like, well, what am I doing? I'm getting older. I'm going to die. I'm not watching some shit right now.
I want to say though, so a couple things is that kind of looking at it in terms of like watching things and appreciate things. Like think about it like in terms of like cross training, right? Like if you're training for a marathon, maybe you'll do some like, I don't know, swimming, or Evan, you'd know more than I would about like cross training for it. But what I'm saying is that like maybe watching like a baseball game every now and then, maybe watching a football game every now and then would just like give you a slightly different perspective, which would then add depth to the other media that you're consuming.
It's pretty good.
Maybe it would. That is,
advice.
I will not debate that is possibly true. However, I'm not willing to take that chance. I already know that if I like had a deeper appreciation of art history, I would appreciate every other form of art that I like more. And I have no interest in that because that's too dry and academic for me.
Here's what I say. Here's what I say. You can, if you talk about like being occupied with work, talk about being occupied with other stuff. I say what you do is you buy some time and you take a day off of work and you get 8 hours off. So 8 hours of bonus time that you use that bonus time to watch some sports. And then
you're entirely missing the point of everything I've said, because I would be thinking like, why am I doing this? I have these 8 hours. I have this other.
But I do want to tie it back to the movie though, because in a way where sports would like having like knowledge and experience of sports would enhance the viewing of Little Big League, is that there were scenes like when you had like Pudge Rodriguez and Rafael Palmeiro in there, but also the big climactic scene with Ken Griffey Jr. and Randy Johnson. Like in terms of like 90s baseball, like those were like just national icons. So like to see like Ken Griffey Jr. be an important part of the final scene there, like that's another layer of enjoyment that that I get from the movie from my watching of sports.
Mm-hmm.
So,
a lot of meat and juice in that last 5 minutes of conversation there.
We lost him. We're losing him, folks. He's going out.
Going Ahab approved.
What we'll do is it was maybe like for a future podcast. Maybe there's Adam. I think there's a way that we can eat your cake and have it too, where we'll watch like a more pure sports movie, or like maybe
I'm ready for Rookie of the Year. I would love to follow this up with Rookie of the Year. Full stop.
But can I just reminisce for a second, Mike, about how you and I had that. Well, Mike and I were both amused in high school at the ongoing joke in the show Full House, where Uncle Jesse and Uncle Joey have fights over what's better, comedy or music. And that led Mike and I to start a lifelong debate about whether sports or music was more culturally important. And it started off in good fun, but it would also get kind of heated, right? Because like,
it's music, hands down.
Well, Bob was on the music side at the time, yeah, for sure, yeah, and Mike was on the sports side, and so that probably had a couple like fights to the level of like needed to take a time out from each other over over that one topic, but yeah. That's it.
I was referring to music versus comedy. It's still music. I love comedy, but it's still music.
It's definitely music over comedy. It's harder with sports. And even though for me personally, if you were going to take one of those things away, I'd have you take sports away from me. But I think if you did that to the majority of the population, that would be probably worse. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, though, I don't think you can really fully separate the two.
You know,
Yeah.
Sports and
kind of
music? You can't separate sports and music?
No. I mean, well, like college football, for example, like marching bands are like a very integral part of the.
And Mike, also, if you remember from the movie Crossroads, the whole head cutting scene is really a form of sports and musical.
Oh, there you
sports.
go. I'm saying, yeah.
It's competitive music, and so really we shouldn't be dichotomizing these things, is what we're saying. I'm really intrigued. Not intrigued. I'm actually not surprised, but it was funny to hear you talk, Adam, about your anxiety about like, because my brother Nick has something similar where like if even 15 minutes gets lost where you're not doing what appears to me to be the optimal form of like nutritional entertainment, and I love that. I laugh my ass.
And I know it's not healthy.
It's just funny as hell.
But it's still there.
I'm the exact opposite of that. Like if you gave me a day and said, just do whatever you want, I would probably just like sit outside and drink.
You'd probably watch Night Nurses from Jersey.
Maybe watch Night Nurses from Jersey and jack off and eat McDonald's. And I would not feel guilty about that because I didn't watch like, some like Criterion Collection fart art movie.
But to be clear, that is not what I feel like I'm missing out on.
I know.
Can we redirect to one of my favorite scenes in the movie? If I had to pick a favorite scene in the movie, I'm sure Evan knows, Mike may also know. It's the scene where they're eating McDonald's and he calls them retarded. That's the high scene.
I thought about you when he said that because it's out of.
And specifically, I like because like they're getting frustrated about the annoying stuff, and then like, can we talk about something else? And then the kid being like, does Batman ever get fast food? I was like, that's some funny shit. That is actually a good thought experiment.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great scene.
And like, of course, that fucking worthless little nerd is dead wrong. Why? He has no backup for Batman wouldn't have fast food. He's like, the Kid Crusader wouldn't eat fast food. Why not, Billy?
So a more interested and thorough person could look this up, but I'm pretty sure that McDonald's did Batman. Like, I'm pretty sure during one of the Batman movies, maybe the first. Maybe, yeah. So yeah, like definitely. But that was funny just because it's the only non-PC moment in the movie.
Well,
which back then I'm not even sure that.
I don't know. I thought there was a lot. I thought there was some weird racial erotic tension when he fires the black guy. That reminded me of Buck Breaking. If either of you are familiar.
So pause for 1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mike and Adam, but that what you just said, so that I think, and I'm not accusing you or anybody else, I'm going to be 100% honest. When I saw this movie as a kid, I thought nothing of the fact that that player was black and Billy was white. Yeah. Watching it today in 2021, it's all I could think about. And that's all I want to say. I don't think there's anything racial in it, but we now live in this like mega, like, I don't know what the fuck to call it, heavily brainwashed, like race obsessed fetish culture where everything is about oppression and race. And that's a perfect example right there, because I don't know about you, Mike, we watched that scene. Mike and I liked that scene so much we reenacted it on camera, right? When we were
Let me guess who's who.
Well, so that's actually interesting. I actually had a very small role on that one. We in our recreation of this one, I actually created a character that was not really on scene for that one.
So who is the guy getting fired?
Evan
is obviously the guy doing the firing. So who's getting fired?
Evan, don't lose your train of thought on this one. But who told? Because somebody told Jerry that Billy wanted to see him, right? I can't remember who that was.
You did. You came.
No, I know in our recreation, but didn't that happen like in the movie itself?
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
Or did it just?
Jerry just pokes his head in. He knocks. Billy says, "Come in." He smiles. He says, "Hey, you wanted to see me?" And Billy's like, "Yeah, come in. I got to tell you, talk to you."
Yeah. So the character in our recreation, like my character was the person that said to Jerry that Billy wants to see you. So
who was Jerry? Who was Jerry?
I was Jerry.
And then Billy was played by Nick, and
I would not have guessed that. I assumed Evan was going to be Billy and Mike was going to be Jerry.
I'm with you on the racial side of things too. Like I guess even the second viewing around, I guess I wasn't even really thinking about it. About the racial
smart. Your brain hasn't been hijacked by whatever the fuck is going on, like Vermont police, Vermont thought police, college campus thought police.
I knew you
Yeah.
would like that one. I knew you would like that one.
I had to stop on that one. I had to stop on that one. But anyway, that is a good scene. It is intense. That's like some Oscar shit right there, you know? Is that supposed to make me feel better?
Yeah, well, I think no, I think that is I think that this is where again we're just to tease the cheeseburger ranking a little bit here.
Cheese, the cheese.
Where we start getting some additional toppings there because I think if you look at that scene where the whole scene and the whole part in there where it's like it's difficult because he has to cut his favorite player and it just would suck to cut anybody for any reason. But then like he's compassionate and he tries to like make him feel better, and in his good intention to make him feel better he only makes the situation worse. So I just thought that was good because that thing that happens is like, hey, I want to be compassionate, I want to make you feel better, but you know,
typical white male trying to tell the black guy what he thinks he needs, and you know what, we're not gonna take it. We're not gonna take it this time. But yeah, no, that's a good scene. Mike's giving me that look like, you sure you want to be saying that? Listen, I have full editing privileges. I can do whatever I want. I've already said, I think I've said more trouble getting into shit than most podcasts, but that's all right. Neither here nor there. I don't care.
One thing, the only other thing I want to talk about in that scene is when he's firing him and the guy's getting understandably upset. Billy at one point goes, how do you think I feel? And it's like, oh, it's so hard for Billy.
That is a good one. That scene really touched us back in the day. I remember because we really felt strongly that we needed to make a little video of us doing it.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. That's the point. Like the whole thing. It says like, how do you think that makes me feel? And then like he gets a very cold dose of reality immediately.
Well, what I would say to really double down on what's already bothering Evan is what Billy is experiencing is a miscalibration of his white nepotistic privilege that he isn't even aware. He thinks like, well, what about how I feel? Because he's so out of touch with the disproportionate effect he's having on the player.
Exactly.
And he's having on himself.
And how can they even say we're a racist society when like all the best baseball players are black?
Because how about the team owners like Billy?
That's what I call black privilege.
Yeah.
I hope that
I've gotten to a point in my notes that reminds me of what Evan said about the chicken. There's a scene, I forget what they're talking about. They're talking about somewhere they're going to go and they talk about having a chili burger the size of your head. And I was like, I don't think I've ever had a chili burger. Is that even a good thing? Have you guys had a chili burger? Where is that a regional thing? I just was like,
is a chili burger like a sloppy Joe?
No.
Or is it a burger with chili on it?
So I can speak to this. First of all, I just want to say, just in case this does go unedited on the YouTube channel, like that's it's all facetious. Yeah. So anyway, now they're both looking at me like I'm just a worm.
I'm trying to talk about chili burgers.
Chili burger is a real thing. In fact, that's like if you come down here, it's big in the Carolinas. You can get it.
I know about chili dog because of the animated Sonic the Hedgehog TV show, but chili burger.
Chili dogs are bigger in like the Cincinnati, Ohio, the chili coney dog. That's a popular thing, but chili burger is a thing. Yeah, for sure.
And do you like it? Is it good? Do you recommend it? If you see it on a menu, we're like, oh, I got to try that.
I'm the kind of person where that's one of those things for me. Like, sure, I'll eat one sometimes, but it's a novelty. And I almost always feel like I'd prefer to just have a burger and a cup of chili. I don't really need them to be smashed together. Yeah. But that's a pop. I mean, there are 5 restaurants within spitting distance of my house that have chili burgers.
So you think, is it like fully Southern, or is it in that weird between Southern place area where you are? There's the thing.
I think it's just,
And do you remember where because in the movie, it's because they're like playing an away game somewhere, and I can't remember where they are. Do either of you remember where they are that they're excited about the chili cheeseburgers?
I think they're in Chicago.
Yeah. I think we're in Chicago.
Place where you could get chili cheeseburger.
Yeah, they had a couple scenes in Chicago, and one of the road trips they had was to Boston. To bounce around a little bit, I want to answer a previous question about my least favorite scenes in the movie. I don't have a very interesting answer, but I thought that the scenes when they were at Comiskey Park in Chicago, I don't know. I just thought they were kind of boring scenes.
Mike,
Which
I didn't hear
like
that.
I don't know what part that is. What happens in those scenes?
Yeah, those are the ones when it's like talking about like fining people for like not running out.
Oh, and he's being an asshole.
Oh, the downturn.
An asshole.
But I was gonna say it probably doesn't help that they're at Comiskey Park, right? Because like, you know, where let's be honest, where does Comiskey Park rank on your all-time list of favorite baseball stadiums?
So it's going to be kind of a surprise to you. I have never been to Comiskey Park. I actually was going to go to a game there in May. However, it got rained out, so I did not get a chance to get there.
Okay, well, I haven't been there either, but just driving by it many, many times in my life, it seems like, you know, the sort of like shitty counterpart to Wrigley Field, which is like one of the better, cooler baseball stadiums. Obviously, I don't know much about this kind of thing, but South Side Chicago, we can just kind of write that off, right?
Actually with baseball real quick is that Adam, are there are baseball teams in Vermont, right?
There's like there's what the fuck are they called? There's
The-
no, the Lake Monsters. There's the Vermont Lake Monsters. Is like
Oh,
Sounds awesome.
So this is what I think needs to happen is Evan and I need to visit you out in Vermont, and we need to go to a ball game.
on board.
Yeah, there we go. That's how we're gonna get you into sports, and then you know what's gonna happen is that you're gonna go to the game and like something's gonna click in your brain, and then like
And I'm gonna jack off the baseball 11 times in a row that night.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, I can't believe that the batting average of the third baseman has increased 14 points over the last 3 days. That's an amazing hot streak that he's on. That's what you're gonna be talking about. And you're gonna be doing Stratomatic and fantasy baseball. That's what's happening.
Another question I had about the scenes Mike was talking about where he's being an asshole is there's the iconic scene, which is another part I remembered, where he cusses out the ref.
Yeah.
And air horns happen over whatever. None of the sentences did I have a clear guess what the cuss word was. There's several instances where an air horn covers up a cuss word, and none of them did I have even a guess of what he was supposed to be saying.
Well, I will make an inference here, and that in the movie Bull Durham, there is a scene where they're talking about like, well, what words can you say to get thrown out of a game? And I believe that what he was probably saying would have been something like cocksucker. Would have been.
But like they play the lead up to whatever the word, like he's like, well, you're nothing but and like they play Billy's like lead up, and then only the last word is missing. And I was trying to fill in like motherfucker, or like I was like, none of those feel right. And like this, like I don't know, it just felt like they didn't even have a real end of those sentences, that they just were doing air horn, and it wasn't. I didn't feel like there were realistic threads of cussing, basically.
Yeah.
I love that guy. That guy that plays the ref, it drove me crazy. I was like, why do I know that guy? Why do I know that guy? And I couldn't remember. I had to go to the internet, and I know him because he is the Texan guy at the airport that Kramer starts betting on flights with in Seinfeld, which makes sense because that other guy, the guy who the slick back hair guy that's like not the manager, but the guy that like is sitting with him when he gets hired, that guy, I forget his name. He also had a recurring part on Seinfeld as like the guy that Jerry doesn't want to hang out with. And when he breaks up with him, it's like breaking up with a woman, but they're just friends. And then they get tickets to a baseball game. But anyway, the director of this directed no other feature films, but directed many Seinfeld episodes leading up to this, which is where I bet he met both of those actors that he put in this movie.
That's good. Some good trivia.
What just happened there is like when Billy Haywood talks about, the 1928 Brooklyn Black Sox.
No, because I had to look it up. I didn't know. It bothered me that I didn't know, but I had to be the guy. I was like, when they keep cutting to the announcer and there's the guy next to him with the books who's giving him the facts. I had to look it up in a book like that guy. I didn't have it all appear like Billy.
Well, he looked it up at some point.
Now when he's talking about it, he's speaking extemporaneously. That's why everyone's so impressed. But okay, and that reminds me, on Amazon or Vudu or wherever we watch this, what I was curious, what poster or video cover artwork do you guys associate with this movie? Because there's two that I see, neither of them right to me.
Yeah, for me, what I associate with it is when he's on his bike and holding his hat in the air in front
And
of
I think that because I was curious about it, I tried to look it up, and I think that was like the real theatrical poster, which is kind of a weird abstract poster because it's got the baseball threads in like a superimposition, and it's like him on the bike. It's kind of a strange poster, but then like a lot of the video stuff has him arguing with the umpire as like the primary image, which is also kind of like a confusing thing to have the primary focus.
That's him arguing and like blowing the bubble gum, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, which like Adam sees that and he's like, oh, get it away, get it away.
Bubblegum, God, disgusting.
Yeah. I just want to just shoehorn a quick Mr. Show reference in here for the air horn scene, and that is for the Pallies sketch. That's all. I just wanted to just shoehorn that reference in there.
But in Pallies, they're not doing that. They're substituting other things instead of a sound effect.
Yeah.
I don't remember it, but that's all right.
I can tell we're losing Evan. The last thing I really wanted to talk about is, have you thought, in the McDonald's, you guys are both retarded scene, there was a line of dialogue one of his friends said that I couldn't understand. I had to turn the captions on to figure out what the fuck he was saying. When he's getting really agitated about them being mad at him for being the manager of the team and not hanging out with him or whatever, one of his friends responds to him being agitated by saying, "De-hype, man."
De-hype. So I have
that was the only time I've ever had to be slang in my
wouldn't
life.
have picked it up either so my captions are just on by default because that's how I watch TV. So I saw the de-hype too and was surprised, like, that's a weird thing. Nobody ever said that when I was a kid.
Also never have heard a real human, because I was like, no one's said that.
No, I've never heard anybody say it. I mean, it makes sense, but
yeah. It is. I think that one of the bonuses of watching with closed caption, why I actually do like doing it from time to time, is actually picking up on the dialogue.
I watch everything in closed caption because it's TV. It's just too loud for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I think it's time to get to again. Finally, we've said a lot of words. We've talked about qualitative analysis. It's time to quantify things, and I'm going to just go right off the bat here. Just again, right off the bat, baseball. And I think if you really appreciate sports, you just understand how sports are life, sports are language, and that's why you got to watch it. But with this one, this is 4 enthusiastic cheeseburgers with bacon, with some jalapenos. I think that this is a iconic movie which I have never not thoroughly enjoyed watching.
Yeah, 5 chili cheeseburgers for me with baseball buns served at a baseball game. How about that? Yeah. One of my favorites. Relived it today. It was a great thing. Can't help but compare it to the last movie we watched, which I watched in the same spot at the same time of day, right before, doing my homework late, right before the podcast. And this was like a 180 experience where I didn't want it to end, quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, and it's a little big league, or as we might call it, big little individual athletic endeavor. But yeah, I think for the next one, we've discussed before. I think that we've Rookie of the Year is the next motion picture that we'll be watching in the Mike's Movie Podcast series. I think we should do that one sooner than later.
You mean veteran of the day?
I'm available tomorrow. Do it tomorrow.
Tomorrow? No.
Daily podcast.
No.
Yeah. Why don't we actually? We can probably do it later tonight. Actually, I have time if we just want to watch Rookie of the Year and then come back in a couple hours.
No, I don't want to do that.
I'm excited for the Rookie of the Year. The last thing, rather than do a ranking, which I never do, I want to talk about the ending to end the podcast. So I would say, the movie kind of is a slightly heightened reality because it's not really believable they would let a kid manage a team. But that ending is so from another dimension. Like there is no world in which it is plausible that even a fraction of the people would stay and chant for Billy, right? Like, do you guys, like, no one even knows who the owners or managers are to chant their name. I just want to know your guys, because to me, when everyone is still there and they're all chanting his name, that's like so, I almost thought he was going to be like dead and that was like a dream he had or something. It's so on a different level of reality than the rest of the movie.
Coaches are pretty important.
Yeah.
And like the fact that the coach is 12 years old, did a good job. I could see that.
Yeah, and I think I think from like again from sports in general is that it's fairly common where if a team has an unexpectedly good season or good run, that the fans will stick around for a good ovation after the games. So that
It played.
There is an element of plausibility. I also was thinking about that too when I was watching the scene, though, is that because the rest of the team was also came out with them and was waving. So I feel like the crowd was really there for the entire team. And
I don't think so. I disagree.
No. So I think, see, here's my thinking. I think that they were there for the entire team. They happened to cheer for Billy because he was out there, but I think that it was an entire team-wide appreciation because on the scene,
they're chanting his name. They're chanting Billy.
It's Billy. Yeah. The team comes out to cheer for Billy with the crowd.
Yeah, but you can cheer for the team and Billy at the same time.
That's not what they're chanting. Billy. They're not chanting twins.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe they were after the credits ended. Maybe they started chanting. Maybe they gave a big Lou. You don't know.
Graceful disagreement is not our specialty here.
Also, what do you guys? The Minnesota Twins, I think, is another reason I may have watched this movie because most of my family is from the Twin Cities. And I'm curious, like, it's kind of funny to have a movie about a real team where pretty much the whole team are actors playing not real players.
That's what makes it curious.
Huh?
That's what makes it so cool. But yeah, sorry.
But I'm curious to hear your thoughts as people who are more aware of sports at the time. What was the reputation of the Minnesota Twins when this came out? Was that a team that was really doing much of anything?
Well, at the time they won the World Series in '91, so they were kind of fresh off of that. So yeah, but they were. I think at that time they were a fairly reputable team still. So it's not like the Cleveland Indians where like when Major League came out, they were just like this dreadful, embarrassingly bad team. I mean, I would say that the Twins would just be a pretty middle of the road standard thing, like nothing particularly exceptional one way or the other about them.
Okay.
I do have actually another sports observation I just want to say here too before I forget is that first of all, I think Billy's Room, and I think this is true in a lot of 90s era kids sports movies, is like some of the pennants and posters that they have in the background of the room I think is very very cool. And I want to point out that in Billy's Room, so we have the Minnesota Twins, obviously where the Minnesota Vikings play. In his room, he had a Don Makowski Magic Man poster, which is notable.
I noticed that. I saw that it said Magic Man, and I was like, "Who's the Magic Man?"
Yeah, Magic Man, and so it's like Magic Man. Like so, at the time the movie came out in '94, that would have been the Packers would have been 3 years into the Brett Favre era. So already it's a little bit outdated. And also to have a somebody in Minnesota, a kid in Minnesota, have a Packers poster, I just thought was an interesting contrast because the Packers and Vikings being big rivals in the same way that
true, but isn't it also true, Mike, that like it's not that unusual, like especially in Minnesota, for there to be Packers fans?
Yeah, that's exactly right because the Packers have been around for much longer than the Vikings have. So it's plausible that the grandfather grew up a Packers fan.
Right.
Which is why
that's probably what happened.
So he also had a Jets pennant though. So maybe he just liked collecting sports memorabilia.
Well, which kind of like you, right, Mike? I mean, Mike, you had a pretty impressive pennant collection back in your day.
Sure did.
Where are those pennants now?
And actually, I do want to say one more thing with Billy too is that I think he actually did strike me as a bit agnostic in terms of his favorite teams because the most excited that he got in the movie about watching baseball was to see Roger Clemens. And if Roger Clemens does well, that means that the Twins lose.
Right.
But like he didn't really care. So he seemed to actually be pretty agnostic about his sports team's affiliation.
It sort of reminds me of the time when we went to see, I took Matt Marty to see a Milwaukee Bucks game because LeBron James was coming with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And so Matt bought a $155 limited edition All-Star LeBron jersey in hopes of getting it signed. And LeBron was injured that night.
Yeah. That's
That was back before the Bucks were the best team in the world.
Yeah.
Which they now are. Well, that's it for sports, people.
I think that's it. So thank you everybody for made it this far, for listening. Again, if you like this, please subscribe to our channel. Please like this video and look forward to reading some of the comments below about what you think about this one. And please, let us know what movies that you want us to watch next. So
I'm going to throw out there is a sports movie I've seen that I bet you guys haven't seen, which is also another movie where a team is given to an unexpected party, which is in this case a cat. There's a movie where a cat is bequeathed a baseball team. It's from the 1940s, stars Ray Milland, and it's called Rhubarb because the cat's named Rhubarb after an old-timey word for a baseball brouhaha. And I saw it on broadcast TV about 8 years ago and was totally smitten with a 1940s dumb animal movie. To just know that pastime has been in American history since time immemorial.
Yeah, and thank you for the recommendation. And this gets back to the point. This exactly demonstrates my assessment that you have seen more sports movies than the average person.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
People have seen Mighty Ducks, but like I'm guessing there are about like 8 people that have seen Rhubarb, and that's a sports movie. And you've just seen by sheer volume, I think more than the average person.
Adam loves sports movies, but quick post-credit Easter egg. Did either of you catch that the runt in the stickball scene is young Gordon Bombay from the Mighty Ducks? You didn't. So if you look,
the coach.
No, Gordon Bombay, the kid. So in Mighty Ducks, early in the movie, where they play the scene where Gordon Bombay misses the shot.
Oh,
that kid is in this movie, and he is the little kid that nobody wants on their stickball team before Billy gets to the game, and then he checks his baseball card to see if it's Billy and goes, not even close. That's Gordon Bombay.
Okay, that's this is A+ stuff here.
That's a juicy nugget I almost forgot because I didn't write.
Yeah, that's the type of thing. And on that with the Mighty Ducks, I do want to say to point a similarity between Mighty Ducks 2 and this movie, Little Big League, is that there is that theme of like the pressure of performance and winning is really getting to me. I'm going to go to a pickup inner city competition, and that's going to get me like recentered.
Back to my roots.
Yeah.
They're both in Minnesota.
Yeah. So also true. So yeah, the 90s were a golden time for kids sports movies based in
What are they showing kids now? I want to know what the typical 9-year-old is getting fed. What movies are they watching?
You know what? To this day, The Sandlot's still very popular. I think that they're watching a lot of movies that we grew up with.
We watched. We had the best shit.
I don't know. Do you know that from people that age? Because all I can think about is your cousin who like had no interest in Terminator 2, where I was like, oh, the touchstones of my generation are meaningless to younger people.
Mm-hmm.
Whose cousin?
Mike's cousin. Mike had a cousin when me and Mike were hanging out watching Terminator 2 casually. And he was like, what are you guys watching? And it was like the fucking team went down. We were like, Terminator 2, how do you not know it?
Oh no, wait, no, that was my roommate's cousin.
Oh, sorry, my mistake. But anyway, point being, only slightly younger than us. And he was like, yeah, I mean, I've heard of it, but like, why would I watch that? And we were like very confused by it. Yes. So that's the kind of thing that makes me think, unless I corroborate with someone in the age demographic, I have no idea what the fuck younger people watch.
No, I agree. That's why I asked the question. Mike gave it.
But I'm saying that's directed at Mike because Mike thinks people still like The Sandlot. And I'm curious, is that based in people that age telling you that?
Yeah. No, so that one's not, and you are raising a point, is that I think that it's probably also to a degree influenced by like the Twitter accounts I follow and the Instagram accounts I follow, which do have a natural like bias towards nostalgia of
And
like
young people don't even fuck with Twitter and Instagram.
yeah
They're all on like TikTok.
yeah. But
But a
I
9-year-old.
I do think that like Little Giants, Mighty Ducks, I think I would think that they would still be pretty popular with.
I'm just saying, we got to talk to some 9-year-olds, and then we'll get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Then I want primary research.
I can see it. So my niece is just started 3rd grade, so I can ask her like.
We'll get her on the podcast.
Here's one of the reasons why those to infer why I think that would be likely is that the kids that are like 9 years old would be like be fathered by people our age. So like we're gonna like.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, thereabouts, but like
On the younger.
Well, when my dad was 9 years old, he was watching like Ed Sullivan, and he didn't make me watch that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
the thing is, I was like the quality of entertainment, especially after the 70s.
Here we go.
it's like you had the 70s, man, and things took a dive, and then all of a sudden it's just like this huge lush forest of entertainment called the 90s, and we're still eating that fruit. Still
No, we are. No, that's my exact point though, because we are. Because like,
The 3 of us are. That's not representative of the outside world.
I don't know that they are or aren't. I want to find out.
Me too. I often have to restrain myself from trying to talk to children about shit like this because I don't know any children well enough to be broaching popular culture subject matter with them.
Yeah, I don't know how to find this out. Presumably, I have some step nieces and nephews who may be useful. I think they're watching like all kinds of new shit we don't even know about, man. They're watching.
Exactly. I 100% believe that.
They're watching Pixar.
Yeah, I think this is we can circle back on this one here too. In all likelihood, they're probably just like not watching as many sports movies at all. Period. Other stuff. But I feel like if they are watching sports movies, it would be the classics.
I do think Mike's right, particularly about the Sandlot. I don't know if that goes for Little Big League, but like the Sandlot that's probably the one from that era that will endure. Sort of like the Goonies.
What I have to say about that is Izzy's younger sister is like in her late 20s. She's like 27. And the other day we were going to watch a movie and she was like, when's it from? And I was like, I don't know, late 80s, early 90s. And this is what she said. And she wasn't joking. She was like, so is it in color?
Wow.
So this is what I'm saying, where we have no fucking idea. That's someone who's in their late 20s. I don't think unless you talk to someone that age, we have any idea what people are into.
Mitchell Johnson, who was on the beginning Patreon only.
Yes, no, yeah. Izzy's younger sister is the same age as Mitchell. So I mean, different life experiences.
That's not representative. Come on. I was watching color movies with Mitchell, all his life. He knows better. He was watching 80s and 90s.
Yeah, no,
But Mitchell more than me and Nick, and this is a little bit of a difference, I think, generational. Spent way more. We talked about that golden amount of leisure time that can be spent. His is majority video games. World of War. He got deep into video games. I think that was more common for kids who came of age in the late 90s, early 2000s. Than those, like for us, video games were not anywhere near as involved then. The internet was not a thing. I think that's the big deal, right? Like the internet.
Video games were only a huge deal to me in the 90s. I got over it by the time I got it.
But it was different. But you get my point. It was different. They weren't immersive, right? They weren't this massive connected online experience because there was no internet, or there was, but we didn't have.
Well, no, I think that I agree with that, Evan, because I think that. With like video games, not like video games then versus video games now, it's like you and me growing up, Nick. It's like we're gonna hang out regardless, and while we are hanging out, we are gonna play video games. But I think that like where the changes with League of Legends and World of Warcraft. It's like we are playing video games, and then from that point, like the community forms, which I think is a bit of a different thing, where you have like these the relationships and social communities that are based purely on the video games.
And they do those video game sagas or campaigns the way Adam watches movies. It's like 8 hours a day. They're not watching shit. They don't know about any movies.
I wish I watched movies 8 hours a day. That's my fantasy.
If you could, you would. If you could, you would, is what I'm saying, right? Like if you had 8 hours of spare time a day, you probably would watch 2 to 3.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
I think, Adam, what you should do is instead of watching multiple movies in a day, watch one movie a week, but like really think about the movie.
I only think about them when I'm at work. I'm not thinking about like the lives of people whose testing I'm doing that I should be focusing on. I'm thinking about like, like that was kind of like this other thing that doesn't matter, but this is what my brain's thinking about.
Yeah,
I have been watching more movies. You'll both be happy to hear. I watched John. I finally sat down and watched John Wick 1 and 2. I hadn't seen any of the John Wicks, and I decided I really enjoyed them. I haven't seen the third one yet.
I've enjoyed all of them.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch 3, but yeah,
they're just very solid movies.
solid shit. Time well spent.
Good chat.
Good shit. I also watched the Orange Years documentary on Hulu about 90s era Nickelodeon. That was fine.
Have either of you been back to a movie theater post things opening up?
I went to a theater during the
yes, that's true.
COVID.
Since then, have you? Because we talked about that at the time.
No, I haven't. And I only went
I'm going all the time. I probably am going to go after this tonight.
I would go. I actually don't have a car right now, guys. I'm going carless till 2022. I told Mike this.
Yeah.
Not that it's all that interesting. I just don't have a car.
No, I have not been though to a movie theater since that.
I'll tell you what, there's some good. I had low expectations and was kind of just trying to recapture the thrill of going to a theater. A lot of everything I've gone to see, I've been unexpectedly pleased with. There's a lot of exciting things coming out. I think because they just had so much bullshit stored up from not doing anything for a long time.
Yeah. But no, I think I'll probably go shortly, but I was like on the cusp of like, okay, time to get to the movies, and then like Delta just like took off, and I'm like, yeah.
Well, in my experience, having gone to the movies maybe like 6 or 7 times since things opened back up, no one's fucking going. There's been maybe 3 other people in any screening, and I'm going at like 9 p.m. on a Saturday night, and they're still fucking.
You don't live in the United States of America, dude. You like.
I am going. I will tell you, I am going to. There are no theaters out here. I have to go to Burlington or a real city to go to a theater. Those are the same theaters that I grew up going to, which used to be fucking packed on a weekend night, no matter what the bullshit was.
Okay, all right. But that is also Vermont, where everybody's like, oh, we probably shouldn't go to the movies yet. In the other states, it's just like, fuck it, give me my Cheesecake Factory and movies. I want to see Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah.
I will say, I meant to, oh yeah, Billy, the guy that plays Billy, besides being the wizard in The Wizard, he was in Jeepers Creepers 2, I saw on his Internet Movie Database, which probably means an adult man has touched his pee-pee without his consent.
He just looks like that kind of kid. In fact, I've already said too many things.
Yeah.
I'm still recording.
Yeah, no, again, this is all I think we can